The Society of Editors, which represent editors of local newspapers and national titles in the UK, has retracted its widely ridiculed claim that the British media is not racist or bigoted, and announced plans to work to improve diversity in the industry. All I can say is, what took so long? What took so long? Why not? Ugh. Oh boy, I tell you. Sometimes you have to save people from themselves. It was ridiculous when it was first thrown out there that the UK media is not bigoted or racist. That was silly. I mean, how do you not see that? Day after day after day. Some of the things that I've seen in the British press was something that I would liken to the 1960s in the US. Not to say that we're so progressive, not to say that we don't have that any type of bias, but the problem is there are certain elements of British press that I see today that I didn't even see when I was a kid. It was almost all but gone when I was a kid. To hear or see those type of things, I would have to go to the very darkest areas of right-wing media in the US to find some of the mainstream stuff that I see from British publications. And I know some of you guys do not like Omid Scobie, but I have to say once again, I follow him on Twitter, and he's always the fastest one off the blocks. I always get information from Omid Scobie faster than almost any place else. And I'm like subscribed to all kind of stuff, and it always comes from Omid first. So Omid definitely helps me with my job. He helps me do what I'm doing because I get the information fast. Well, anyway, that being said, so he tweeted about this story in The Guardian. Society of Editors withdraw claims that UK media is not racist. Organization that represents UK newspapers editors say it will work to improve diversity in the industry. And then, of course, there's a lovely photo of all of these tabloids, or what are supposed to be mainstream newspapers, which feature images of the Duchess of Sussex, almost exclusively. It's almost as though she's the head of the British royal family. Well, in some respects, I would say she is. But in other respects, of course, no, that goes to that aging relic of a queen, someone who I had tremendous respect for, but I have lost a great deal of respect for her. I respect her in kind of a generic, elderly, old lady kind of way, but otherwise, I have had an awakening, and I cannot put this genie back in the bottle. I have, I guess what it is I stopped looking away, because for convenience sake, for the fun of it, you know, all the pomp and pageantry, yeah, that stuff is cool, but it was more of a, I guess my feelings toward the royal family before they were exposed as being like this big racist institution, my feelings about that was probably intertwined with Princess Diana. And so because of Princess Diana and because of my affection for the two brothers, her children, I overlooked a lot of things for a long time. One could say I was in denial. Whatever you want to call it, I'm not anymore. My eyes are open, and I will no longer pretend that it's not exactly what it appears to be, which is really too bad, because some of the best memories I've had traveling abroad were memories that I had in the United Kingdom, and I don't regret making the visit, but I do regret where we are today. You know, and it's not even my responsibility how we got here. I'm not the one to be held accountable for it, but we're here and I can't ignore it. So to pretend otherwise would be pretty disingenuous. And one thing that I have been planning to do for some time, and I've ignored it and forgotten about it, I have to make a subscription to The Guardian because they're doing some great work. And when you when you're leaning on any type of institution or any type of agency or news source, we have to support them. Otherwise, at some point, we might lose them, which is why I had a subscription to a local newspaper that I never read. But they were doing some great work, and they were working hard as that fifth estate, and they were making the politicians accountable. And so therefore I felt it was really necessary to support them. So you have to support the people that are, I guess, supporting the causes that are near and dear to your heart. So just something to think about. If you ever read The Guardian, then you need to support them. The organization that represents the British newspaper editors has withdrawn its claims that the UK media is not racist or bigoted after 6 months of pressure from journalists of color who said it did not reflect the experience of the industry. The Society of Editors said it would now work to improve diversity in the industry and would no longer stand by statements made in March by his former director, Ian Murray. He had strongly disputed claims by the Duchess of Sussex that negative coverage of her relationship with her husband, Prince Harry, was motivated by her skin color. Murray's insistence that the British media is most certainly not racist, gosh, where have I heard that before? Certainly not racist, led to a schism in the newspaper industry between editors who backed his stance and a group including The Guardian, which strongly disagreed. The subsequent row ultimately led to Murray's resignation and a crisis of confidence at the society. Anyway, I guess in my excitement to talk about this, I kind of jumped a little bit further into the article, which is not very long, but you could read the rest of it at The Guardian. But this is why we have to support them, is because The Guardian has taken up this issue of racism in so many different places in British society where other people dare not venture. And I guess all I can say is thank you. And now it's time for a little messy. Lizzie, what are you doing? How is it that Queen Elizabeth is, I guess, writing or putting out a state, or she had somebody write it for her, puts out this statement about the press photographing the royals near the Balmoral castle or palace or whatever that thing is? How is that possible? I thought it was in public interest that you can invade someone's privacy when and wherever you choose to, when they walk outside of the confines of their home or etc., etc. I thought that was okay. But because she's trying to protect that 200-pound lump of loving machine, he who dares not sweat the antiperspirant of humanity, that son of hers, so she, decides to call off the wolf pack. No, leave my son alone. And I'm not even going to get into what he's accused of. Even on his best days, her son is rude and vicious and mean-spirited, pompous, arrogant. I don't have enough adjectives to describe what an awful person he is. Awful. I mean, there's no debate about it. Just awful. Have you ever seen somebody walking around with a grimace on their face like that? The only time he smiles is when he thinks he's getting away with something. Other than that, he's just, he is totally a waste of space. And the only reason why he keeps his Sarah Tosuck Ferguson around is because he's so busy looking down at her because she's always looking up to him when she doesn't have her foot in somebody's mouth. And you know, I hate to say this because it's so creepy. That photo that we plaster all over Twitter and places, that's the crop version of the photo. I won't even show the full photo. The full photo includes a couple of kids running around while she's got her foot down somebody's throat. It looks extremely creepy, but I'm not going to share that because, you know, it's just, it makes you sick on the stomach. But this is the person who's constantly trying to reform her image. But the two of them, those are the ones in the family that you should actually go after. The Sussexes, who are doing such great work with so many people, are being targeted like they have just robbed a bank or something. They're not the ones that's having money troubles. They're not the ones that are living way above their means. They're not the ones with the champagne taste and the beer bottle pockets. That's the Yorks. The Yorks, the ones who have had a Swiss chalet and had this bespoke home built in the countryside that looks like a medical office, only to say, oh no, that's not good enough. And then they moved to Great Windsor Park and moved into the Royal Lodge. They're not the ones who did all that. They're the ones who have the house that you can't stop counting the bathrooms. You know, the $14 million house or $11 million house. You know, you can't even say their names without talking about the price of their house. That house, the Montecito house. I think what was offered to the Sussexes or to Meghan and Harry before the wedding was a chance to work with the Commonwealth, countries that were near and dear to both of them, countries that both of them had already visited or wanted to visit. These were places they wanted to go and the people that they were hoping to reach out to. So here's this golden opportunity for them because they found each other. They loved each other. And they continue, of course, to love each other. And they had this opportunity at the time to work together as a team. And they were going to do it within the institution. Would have been nothing more but an advantage for the royal family. But because they were so mistreated, because they were abused, they left. And they took all of that goodwill with them. And they're still using that goodwill. They are giving, they're donating, they're reaching out. They are inspiring people, but they're not doing it as members of the royal family. They're not doing it as senior working royals. They're doing it outside of the institution. And that's your loss, Your Majesty. That's your loss. That's the family's loss. That's the firm's loss. And unfortunately, there are no do-overs. Even if you wanted to make things right, it's too late. I mean, look at how Scarlett Johansson... Now, as far as I know, I don't think she's black. But look at how she's been treated. You know, she played along, went along with the institution. How am I going to tie this together, right? So she played along, went along with the institution. She lived in the Marvel universe. And then we can't... I shouldn't do this, but this is too much fun. But when it came time for her to make her movie and time for her to reap her benefit and fortune, the rules changed. Of course, they blamed it on the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, sure. But she was hoping to get like the big money. And when it was her turn, everything changed. Now, one could argue, yeah, but the whole world has changed. But I'm just being silly when I say this. I'm just using this to make the point that she did play by the rules, and she worked within the institution such as it was. And when you do something like that, you have to maintain the status quo, because all along people are making promises to you that, okay, your time is coming, you'll have your day to shine. Well, in the institution, in the royal family, in the firm, no such promises are made after you've shown them that you can shine. Then all of a sudden, they don't want you to shine anymore, and the rules are going to change. And that's what happened to the Sussexes. So, like I say, I don't think Scarlett Johansson is black. But the principle is the same. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I have strayed a bit off of the original topic, and that was, of course, the news editors and etc. But it is pretty interesting that they have gone through extraordinary measures to try to protect Prince Andrew in spite of all of the allegations against him. Evidence half as lengthy as that, with half the weight of that, should I say, would have destroyed most people. But because it's the Queen's favorite son, he's probably going to, walk away without a scratch. And he'll get away with it. He won't even have to pay for it. He won't even have to pay for it because Mummy will pay for it. Yeah. So that's probably why they don't want the press hanging around Balmoral, because they figure if they can get rid of the press that it will help the story go away. I mean, they're over there at Balmoral as busy as a cat covering up poop trying to suppress this story, but it ain't going away. It's not going to happen that easy. Although I wouldn't dare them to, suppress it, because you know how they operate. They've been doing pretty good so far. This 1,000-year-old institution with this 150-year-old monarch, they have managed to suppress a whole lot of stuff just during her reign. So I wouldn't put it past them, but not if we are persistent. And when I say we, I mean, the most of the Western world. We have to keep the pressure on. Let's not let this be another one of those instances where people forget. And it's going to be the same way with Camilla Barker Bowles. You ain't nothing but a hound. When the time comes for her to become the Queen's consort, they're hoping that somehow people are going to forget. But, that's why we got Netflix, isn't it? Netflix will help you remember. It brings back all the memories. So, yeah, that wacky family, I tell you. What do they get up to next, huh? But there was something that kind of startled me. So I'm going through social media, as I often do, and this face just kind of almost knocked me out of my chair. And the reason why it frightened me was not because of the face itself. As a matter of fact, compared to the actual person, I have never seen her look more alive and animated in years. But that is so bad. I don't know. I guess it makes her look taller. I don't know. But yeah, this was kind of jarring, and I think they should at least have a warning before you open up this link or whatever. So anyway, that's it for now. Just getting caught up on a couple things. Thanks again for the moderators, and thank you for everybody who has contributed. Thank you for your comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.